And now we welcome back to dinner time. It's Virginia Military Institute head basketball coach Andrew Wilson. Coach, thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys. I'm excited to be on again.
So you first joined us about a month into the job when you got hired last spring, and now you're just a few weeks away from beginning play. So once again, last time I talked to you, you were just very busy. You were, trying to get to know the returning players. You were trying to fill out your class. You were trying to hire some, finish your coaching staff. So how excited are you personally to see how far you've taken the program in the few short months since you've gotten the job, and how excited are you that you're just a short time away from November 7th at Richmond?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's been a lot that's happened since last time we spoke. And, I guess it was about 5 months ago, but it seems like 5 years ago. There's been a lot that's happened since then. I was extremely pleased with how my staff turned out. I ended up, in my opinion, hiring the dream staff and bringing in everybody that I pursued and went after. I think we have a great combination of youth and experience and energy and all those things that every college head coach wants to have. I think I've got a great mixture, and so I'm really, really could not be more excited about the staff that I've assembled. I think last time we spoke, I was probably right in the middle of trying to finish my 2022 recruiting class. I ended up signing 5 freshmen. I'm excited about every single one of them. They're all going to contribute in a major way starting on November 7th against Richmond. They're all going to have major, significant roles. And that was something that I talked to them all about during the recruiting process, was that it was an opportunity to come play in a really good league and to have a major playing opportunity from day one when you step foot on campus, and to really be a part of the foundation that's going to be laid at VMI by a first-time head coach. And I think the opportunity that I had for them appealed to all of them, and I think that played a big role in us being able to land all of them.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, we just recently talked to Tanner, and something that was interesting to me about hearing just about the transition from his point of view as an existing player. You're talking about the freshman a little bit. Tanner said it was almost kind of like getting recruited again, because obviously you're kind of getting to know him, he's getting to know you, and just some of the other existing players on the team, meeting the leaders and everything like that. So kind of what was it like, sort of, I guess, using Tanner's language, recruiting those existing players and getting to know some of the older leaders on the team and starting to, maybe gain their trust and build that relationship with them?
Yeah, that was a big part of it as well. That really started from day one for me when I took the job. Was re-recruiting all the players that were on our roster. And look, I took over a situation where, the previous coaching staff before me had a lot of success and built a really strong foundation. And a lot of the kids that decided to play for me and stick around were a big part of that success that they had. And so, I feel very fortunate to get the opportunity to coach all of the kids that decided to come back. And they're going to play a significant role as well. Our style of play, we're going to play a lot of different guys. Our system requires having depth, and a lot of guys are going to be thrust into roles that maybe they haven't had in the past. We're going to be one of the most inexperienced teams in the country, if not the most inexperienced team in the country. We've had some injury issues in the preseason. A couple of our returning experienced guys will be out for the season, which is unfortunate, but it's all part of it. Mm-hmm. And, Sean Conway, will be leading the charge for our returners this season. He's really the one proven guy on our roster who's performed at a high level in college basketball. The rest of our returners, didn't have a real significant role in previous years, but that's going to change this year. And, you look at a guy like DJ Nussbaum who can really play and is going to play a significant role on my team this year, was playing behind one of the best players in the entire league for the past 2 years, and Jake Stevens. And according to a lot of the preseason predictions, Jake Stevens is your preseason player of the year. And so a lot of people don't know what a kid like DJ Nussbaum can do and what he's capable of. And I think they're going to get the opportunity to see it this year.
Yeah, VMI head coach Andrew Wilson joining us on dinner time en route to SoCon Media Day. So this interview playing on the 31st. So we're catching him the week before. So hopefully we're keeping you company and getting you ready to go, getting some of your answers ready for Media Day. So I want to move on. So every coach across the country has some baseline things that they look for when they're evaluating players. So effort, like how they're executing the plays, ability to score, rebound the basketball. But you're talking about your system. Is there any specific metrics or specific thing that you're looking at that you really want to emphasize when you're evaluating your players and you're, deciding who's going to get playing time and who's going to be playing big roles on this team?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want my team to match my personality. And the number one thing that I look for when I'm recruiting a kid or when I'm deciding on playing time, obviously they have to have a certain level of talent, before you decide to pursue them during the recruiting process. But once you kind of get past that, it's toughness. And mental toughness, physical toughness. I feel like kids that come to play for me are going to thrive under me and in my system if they have a tremendous amount of toughness. And so that's something that I really look for. My eye kind of gravitates more naturally towards the defensive end of the court. And so I look for guys during the recruiting process that are versatile, that can defend multiple positions, that bring that toughness to the floor, that are versatile offensively as well. I think as an assistant coach, working for Mark Byington, that's something that we looked for during the recruiting process at JMU and at Georgia Southern, and we were able to have a lot of success with that formula. And those are a couple of things that I definitely look for during the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've been a part of a number of coaching staff, so obviously you're very seasoned in the recruiting trail. But as a head coach now, as kind of the head guy, and especially kind of moving into the season, what does recruitment look like for you, especially when you're trying to coach a team, obviously, to victory, but you're also still kind of have your eye on the next season? Recruiting's kind of become a 24/7, 365 thing. So what's that whole recruiting trail kind of like for you?
Yeah, recruiting to VMI is a little bit different than a lot of other places. And, I mean that in a positive light, but there's a couple things that early on in the process we have to find out about kids. And if they don't check off those two boxes, then we just move on to the next kid. And if they're not a high-level student and they don't have the mental capacity or the want to go through and take on a military experience for 4 years, then we just need to go on to the next kid. And because it's not for everybody. It is a unique college setting, and a lot of kids aren't interested necessarily in what VMI has to offer, and that's fine. That's totally fine. We need to find the kids who are interested, who do want to have the experience of playing at a high-level Division I conference. You're talking about the 11th ranked Division I conference out of 33 over the last 4 years. So it's an opportunity to come in and play for a new coach have a great playing opportunity early on in your career, and to play in one of the best leagues in the country. And so we've got a lot of things to offer basketball-wise to kids, but also academically in the classroom. VMI is one of the best academic institutions in the entire country. And it's an opportunity for a young man to come in and set himself up for the rest of his life through basketball and through academics. And if they have an interest in pursuing a career in the military, it's even better. I've really enjoyed the recruiting process at VMI. It's different than anywhere I've been, but you don't spin your wheels with recruits who don't necessarily have a sincere interest in the institution. And that's something that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. As someone who lives, as an outsider to VMI, albeit we do live about half a mile away from Cameron Hall, I think the biggest thing that I associate VMI with just as an institution is toughness and grit. I mean, you got to be a tough individual to go to that school. Now, you talked about in your coaching style, that's something you value. Do you think just the way that VMI is in general and the way that your coaching style is, do you think it can kind of line up well and you can recruit tough individuals that can be tough basketball players and feed into your system?
I do. And I think that's one of the main reasons why VMI probably decided to pursue me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was so attracted for the opportunity of VMI. I thought it was a good fit for myself and for the institution. I felt like it's a place where I can be really successful. I feel like it matches my personality. And so, I think those things are really important when you're looking for an opportunity to lead a program, that your personality matches the profile of the institution that you're working at. And I feel like I've found that match at VMI. And I feel like I can sincerely go out and sell the many positive things that VMI can offer a young man, and that I don't need to hide behind anything. So, I'm really, I get excited to go out and to sell the institution to recruits and their families when I have the opportunity to do it. And I think that it probably comes through in a sincere way on the receiving end.
So the previous coaching staff, they did a lot of things well. They were very offensive orientated, playing with a lot of pace, shooting a lot of threes. Where they fell short a lot of times was just lacking either depth or height or defense, certain things, defensive rebounding, and it sounds like a lot of those things are emphasis of yours. So with a roster that has a lot of guys that are coached for multiple years by the old coaching staff and doing things a certain way, how has it been kind of either retraining or kind of instituting a new culture or a new system that is kind of a little bit of the opposite of what the old coaching staff and what the old team kind of showed out on the floor?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to be successful in coaching. And, Dan Earl certainly found his niche at VMI and had a tremendous amount of success. And let's be honest, if it wasn't for a key injury last year, VMI season probably would have ended a little differently. Mm-hmm. And, he did a tremendous job. And so I've got some big shoes to fill and taking over for Coach Earl. And even, prior to Dan Earl being here, Duger Bockham, had a very unique style that worked for him. And he was, highly successful at VMI. And so I've got big shoes to fill, and I realize that. But I also have to be my own man, and I have to be my own coach. And I have to implement my beliefs and my core values into the program. And the returners are going to be fine. Even though they were recruited to come play for Coach Earl in a little bit different of a system and style, they're going to be fine. And the players always are. The players always are. And they're all going to have a significant playing opportunity on my team this year and moving forward. The previous staff did a great job of recruiting and bringing in good players and bringing in talent. And obviously some of those guys decided to leave, and that this wasn't going to be the best situation for them. And I was fine with that too. So, I think it's just a thing where there's a lot of different ways as a coach to be successful. And the players are going to adapt to that, and they already have. And it is different for them, but I think they'll be just as successful in my system as they were in Coach Earl's.
Yeah, and you talk about those shoes to fill. So your first 3 games this year are against teams that were in the conference tournament. And I was just curious, coming into the season, you have the most time to basically prep for Richmond game 1. But once you're in the season, how much are you prepping opponent specific? Are you mainly just trying to make your team the best team it can be? How do you kind of ride that balance of looking at the matchups on a given week? Because, once the season starts, it's just a lot of games back to back to back. So what has kind of been your preparation been like coming into the season, and what does it look like once you're really in the thick of it?
Yeah, we kind of, as a coaching staff, especially this time of year, you can kind of look ahead a little bit to some of your opponents. We're still a little bit less than 2 weeks out from the Richmond game. We'll really start to specifically prepare for that game next week. But one thing that I like to do with my staff is we'll go through and work versus common actions that some of our opponents are going to run this year. And we'll start working on defending those actions and practice. And a lot of times we're defending those actions in practice, and the guys on the team don't even know that we're necessarily preparing for a specific team. And so that's one thing that I believe in doing. And, as you mentioned, once we get into the season, the games kind of keep coming. And, we play in an MTE at Longwood, and we'll play 3 games in 3 days. And so, there's obviously not much prep time between those games, especially on the second and third nights. And so you have to rely more on your principles and your training and, what you teach from day one. And, we'll have to rely on a lot of that throughout the course of the season. Once you get into Southern Conference play, you are able to find a little bit more of a rhythm because you're playing on mostly Thursdays and Saturdays. You won't get as much of a chance to prepare for those Saturday games, but once you kind of get into a rhythm, I think the coaches and the players are able to kind of settle into that, and we'll have plenty of time to prepare for our opponents. I think we're just in a stage right now where we can worry about ourselves and just worry about us progressing as a team and getting better individually, and just really worrying about VMI and what we can do to move forward as a program.
Mm-hmm. So you got 3 out of your first 4 games against NCAA tournament teams from last year, and you got, obviously, as we all know, a big Southern Conference schedule. Southern Conference is far, far away at this point, but I do want to know, is there any environment, any road trip that you're looking forward to taking for any particular reason?
Well, I wish you wouldn't have reminded me of our first 4 games. We've got a gauntlet, the first 4 games. There can't be many teams in the country opening up with 3 of their first 4 opponents being NCAA tournament teams from last year. And so that's going to be a tremendous challenge for us. I spent 7 years in the Southern Conference. 6 years at College of Charleston, we were in the Southern Conference, and then my first year at Georgia Southern. So I have a lot of familiarity with the league. I know all the coaches in the league. I've been to all of the venues. And so, having spent 6 years in Charleston, South Carolina, and having a great rivalry with Citadel when I was at the college, I've got a very keen awareness of that rivalry between VMI and Citadel as well. So that'll be a place that obviously I look forward to going to. I know a lot of people in the community there. Going back to play Mercer, I grew up in Atlanta and coached at Georgia Southern for 7 years. So I know a lot of people in the state of Georgia and have a lot of familiarity, there. And there's a lot of great challenges in our league. I've spent many years going against Mike Young at Wofford and going to Furman, and we had a great rivalry with Chattanooga. John Schulman was the head coach. They used to play the Southern Conference tournament there, and UNC Greensboro's got a great program going. So I don't know if there's one in particular that I'm looking forward to more than the other, but I do have a lot of familiarity with all these schools in the league, and I've got a tremendous amount of respect for each one of the schools in our league too. And I know how good our league is. A lot of people on the outside don't realize the success that the Southern Conference has had over the last 4 or 5 years. But, I'm telling anybody that will listen that the Southern Conference is ranked higher than Conference USA, the Sun Belt, the CAA. Over the last 5 years, it's better than all those leagues. And a lot of people don't realize that, but the numbers tell a different story. And so I'm just really excited for the challenge that this league presents.
We're listening for sure. So I do have to clarify with you something real quick. So you worked at Southern for a long time, so I do need to confirm with you the real GSU is in fact Georgia Southern and not Georgia State.
There was a heated debate about that during my time there, and I think the way that it's settled out is that DSU is Georgia State and Georgia Southern is now GS, I think is the way that they have gone. I hope I'm not saying anything that's incorrect. It's been a couple years since I've been around there. But we had a tremendous rivalry with them when Ron Hunter was the coach at Georgia State. And we were neck and neck with them every single year, finishing first and second in the league. And it seems like we played them every other year for the league championship. And so that just added to the venom between the two schools. And every time we played them, it was sold out in Atlanta. Every time we played them in Statesboro, it was sold out. Tremendous environment in both places. And it was a lot of fun, that rivalry.
Mm-hmm. So before we wrap things up with you, we like to do this with our guests. We're going to do a quick rapid fire kind of VMI basketball themed, get to know the team and the players and you a little bit better. So quick answers, you can be just the answer or just a little description behind it. So I'm going to start. I'm not going to call any. I don't want you to call any players on the team, but how many players in your roster do you think you could beat in a 3-point shooting contest right now?
All of them.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. And then kind of a similar question along those lines. Is there a player on the team who you think is most like you from back in your playing days at Florida State?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I think two of our returners, Tanner Mans and Sean Conway, have a lot of similarities in my game. I'd go with those two.
All right, so I know you've coached a lot over the years, but favorite game you've ever been a part of?
Senior night versus Duke. They were ranked number 1 in the country with J.J. Redick on their team. They came in 14-0 in the league, and we beat them. That was my last game ever in Tallahassee. The crowd rushed the court. Dickie V was doing the game on ESPN, and that's a memory that will last with me forever.
Yeah, you can't really beat that. So maybe, I don't know if this is something you've kind of taken from your playing days on, but do you have any sort of pregame rituals you still do?
I don't have any pregame rituals. I have a routine. I wouldn't say that I have any particular rituals that I do, besides just trying to get myself as prepared for the game as I possibly can. I do like to exercise on the day of games. I try to get a run in just to try to relieve myself of some of the stress that I know is coming later on, but I would say that's probably it.
All right. Can you still dunk?
No.
When'd you lose that ability?
Oh, man. Probably when I was about 30. I'm 40 years old now, and I quit playing when I was 30. I played in men's leagues for a long time. But knees and my Achilles, and everything just got too bad. And so no, I cannot dunk anymore.
That's got to be tough. And I'm sure at this point you've gotten to know all the guys on the team pretty well. Who would you say the funniest player on the team is? Who's always cracking the jokes?
Tayshawn Jackson, one of our new freshmen, is pretty easy answer, I think, on that one. He's constantly joking around, and I would go with him for sure.
All right, if you had to choose another profession, say coaching wasn't a thing, what would you be doing?
Oh, man. This is all I've wanted to do for the longest time. And I can remember when I was getting into coaching, I was right out of college. I had some opportunities to play overseas and go make some money. But this is what I wanted to do. This is what I had a passion for. And my first job was with Bobby Crimmins at College of Charleston. And I told him before he hired me that he didn't have to pay me anything. I'd come volunteer for him, and that I was sincere about that. He thought I was crazy. And he said, no, we're not going to do that, Andrew. I'm going to pay you. I say, Coach, I mean, this is how bad I want to do it. And so I've just always had an energy and a passion for it. And this is all I've wanted to do for as long as I can remember.
That's awesome. And kind of going off a little bit my pregame ritual question before, do you have any pregame kind of hype songs, maybe songs to calm you down? Is there anything they play in the arena that gets your head bopping a little bit?
I'm probably as boring as it can possibly be when it comes to music. I drive down the road and listen to talk radio. I either listen to some type of news or some type of sports talk radio. So I'm not a big music guy.
Yeah, I mean, got no problem listening to some sports talk radio. Nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
All right, Andrew, you got any superlatives left?
I think I'll just, my last one is, you've been in Lexington for a little while now, do you have any go-to food spot that you like to go eat at?
Yeah, the Palms is probably our go-to.
Classic.
Yeah, we like to go to Taps. We've really, the Southern End, probably those are three of our favorites, my family and I. And but we like all the restaurants downtown. I live right on Post, and we can walk to all the restaurants from our house. And so that's been a really cool thing for us.
That's great.
Yeah, last one I got for you. Favorite professional sports team?
Oh, I'm in Atlanta, everything. So I'm in Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta Braves, Atlanta Hawks. All the Atlanta teams are my teams.
That's music to my ears, Coach.
It's it's hard to be a professional Atlanta sports fan sometimes.
It builds character.
The Braves finally broke through last year and got our second world championship in the history of Atlanta's professional teams, which is hard to believe that there's only two professional championships, but the Braves got them both. And but I'm Atlanta through and through.
Well, that's good to hear. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on with us again, and wish you best of luck at SoCon Media Days, and best of luck as you start the 2022-23 campaign.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate being on.
Thanks, Coach.